Hey everybody, welcome to My Green Pets. I'm William Green and gonna have to apologize in advance for video quality. My trusty video camera with which I have recorded every episode of My Green Pets up until today is broken and I don't think it's gonna be fixed. One of the very important internal components is pretty much destroyed and they don't make that camera anymore or support it, so we're using the phone today. It's not a great view, but we're gonna do our best. So my apologies. Let's start out by looking at Cycnodes Wine Delight, and actually the very last thing that I recorded on my video camera was I took the Wine Delight out of the tent a couple days ago and took some video, took some photos. So we'll switch over to that in a minute, sorry. But you can see that it is starting to fade, and it's it's fading when you can see little pollens everywhere. It has spit its pollen out, and that means that the flowers are just about done. So it's had a nice run for us. Big beautiful plant. I've seen Wine Delight plants that after they bloomed, they put out new spikes with more flowers, so we can be hopeful that we're going to see that. Now right next to it we've got Desert Davison. This is a Fredclarkeara hybrid, and it has got two spikes pushing out, and I'm super excited about that. The pictures that I've seen of this plant in bloom are pretty spectacular. Many blooms, and with two spikes this should be a pretty outstanding show. That'll probably be blooming in about a month or so if we get lucky, if it's good and fast. Let's see, Stephen Van Camp and Lewis put out a video just today or yesterday about Fredclarkeara and nobilior spikes. So my eyes are peeled. I'm looking at the base of the new growths to hopefully see something pushing out. Don't know if we'll see anything, but definitely watching very closely. Looks like there might be some swelling down there, but not going to get too excited yet. But overall the plant's pretty healthy. Have noticed some discoloration in the leaves, but it may be that I was overwatering it a little bit, so I actually moved it up. I put this wooden pot on top of this plastic pot, so it got moved about this much closer to the light, and I've been watering it a little bit less often too to make sure that it was drying out. So we will see. Over here, really excited about this Dendrobium Country Girl. It's a nobile type dendrobium, and my goodness, would you look at all of the nubbins all along this old cane. And it looks like the oldest canes covered in little buds. These canes, I believe, are 2 years old. Now these are this year's canes that actually grew this summer, and while there are little bumps, I don't see actual buds pushing out yet, but that could change. You can see I've actually started watering it again. I don't know if it was too soon. I've read that once you see buds poking out that you should resume watering, so I kind of have gently begun to water again, and you can see these canes have just plumped right up. I mean, there's no wrinkles at all, so I might still be really careful about watering as much as I would maybe in the summer. Let it dry out really good between waterings, but we're definitely going to get some flowers on this. Really excited about what that one looks like. Jessie Lee, look at this. Second spike is open. Color's looking wonderful. And we've got the third spike blooming here, popping open. The first spike, I went ahead and cut it off the other day. The flowers were starting to get all watery looking, and I just chopped it off. So this newest growth, we may not get any flowers out of it. The spike has kind of turned brown,
And there's those little white specks again, so I gotta keep my eye on that. I gave the whole plant a really good rinsing off yesterday to try to knock anything off that might be on there, but not sure what we're dealing with. But it's not seeing evidence of any damage or anything, but it's just, you don't want little white things crawling around on your plants. At least I don't. Alright, check this thing out. Wow. Bulbophyllum Lovely Elizabeth. These spikes have made a ton of progress in the last week since you last saw them. And I am pretty excited. Look at those. This one looks like it's got 7 flowers on it. So all of them are looking great. This one I think, oops, this one's the furthest along. I'll try not to break anything while I'm showing you. So I'm just super excited and hoping that, I mean, we might see this one pop open by next weekend. It's pretty quick once it gets going. So that's going to be amazing. Most spikes I've ever had on this has been 3. Got 7 this year. Really excited about it. Okay, over here we got Bubophila meduzai. And these spikes are absolute, they are teasing me to death. You can actually see the tip of those little flower, the little hairy flowers coming out. But the other spikes are still taking their time. So I, fingers crossed something weird doesn't happen in the last minute. But generally what this plant does is one day it's kind of, you know, they're budded up like this, and then the next day you look and they're starting to pop open. So it's really teasing me. I'm hoping that we're going to see flowers on that in the next week or so. Alright, let's go over to the other side of the tent. Alright, here we are. And let's back up a little bit to have a good look at past prime child. Look at this, all bloomed out. The third flower came out a little bit small, a little bit smaller than the other two, but still very cute. And the plant itself is kind of in its full glory now. You can see why I really like it. Kind of gives the thrill of having a big multifloral, but it's just so much easier to grow than I think the multifloral species. Just a really nice one. Love this guy. I noticed that one of the growths down here, you can see it kind of turning yellow, and it actually is turning kind of brown down there towards the base of the plant. I don't know if you can see there, so kind of annoying, but I should be okay. I mean, I've got a couple new growths on it. This new growth's looking really nice, so hopefully we'll be okay. We won't have any big rot problems. Let's see, let's go back here to Mormodia Jumbo World. This is my third Catasetum type orchid. It's dropped all but one leaf, and you can see its 2 spikes pushing out there really nicely. Oops, excuse me, maxima. And they're kind of fighting their way out of the pot there. And then these will, the spikes will go downward, and I'll have to lift up on a pot or something so that the blooms can trail down the way they like to. And this Cattleya maxima, I thought it was kind of going to be out of the picture for the rest of the season, but dude, check out all of the new growths. It's got tons of new growth, pushing new roots, maturing some other new growths on the other side, and we even have a sheath right here. So I mean, I've seen these guys bloom in December. This sheath might actually push flowers. Who knows? 3 bloomings in 1 year, I will take it. Then of course we got Hal, Bobo Film Canolabium. No growth visible on Hal right now, but still just pumping away with these spikes. You can see this nice big one's about to open tomorrow probably. And a third one over here. He's been churning away. These spikes have been growing out since early this year. And let's take a quick look. This is Phalaenopsis schilleriana. This plant is kind of in a crisis right now. You can see the leaf here is starting to dry up and die, but I am still hopeful that it will not die. I am watering it very lightly, letting the sphagnum, it's just tightly packed sphagnum. Whatever roots in there are hopefully able to get a little bit of air, a little bit of water. This new leaf, it seems kind of dry, like the plant's not able to take up a lot of water, but it has no roots, so unless it's growing roots in there now. So I think I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm just going to leave it alone and see what happens, and if it loses that leaf and loses this leaf and it calls it quits, then that's the end of Fredclarkeara. Hopefully that won't be the case, but you just never know. You never know. In terms of let's look at the seedlings. So here are some little Cattleya rex babies. You can see one of them's turned yellow and it's going to die. Actually turning black now. But the other ones seem to be doing okay. No major change. Maybe even some new growth, possibly, down here. So I've got these in sphagnum, and I just give them a good shower, but I don't soak the sphagnum. So the sphagnum kind of stays moist-ish, but not wet. And then right as it starts to get a little crispy, a little dry, I give them a new shower. These are the Dawiana seedlings, and they are really doing great. I'm really surprised. They've actually got new root growth. They just seem to be doing fine. So that's exciting. New roots poking out, leaves looking like they're adjusting to the new light levels and the new humidity levels, and looking good. Here we got Blossfeldiana. They had so many roots. They had roots everywhere, so I couldn't get all the roots into the pot. So the leaves that look like they're gonna turn black have already turned black, and we even have a little bit of new growth kind of poking out of some of them. So that's good too. We're just gonna keep doing what we're doing, and hopefully they will adjust and really start growing for good. And then finally, let's look at the Cattleya rexes. So the rexes, this is their getting into their dry season. So they come from the eastern slopes of the Andes, the Peruvian Andes, where they have a season that about 3-4 months where they get about half as much rain as they get the rest of the year, but they get a ton of rain the rest of the year, so half as much is still quite a bit. I'm letting them dry out completely before I water, which I do all year, and I'm just not quite watering as frequently. Now the temperatures in here are pretty much the same, slightly cooler than the summer, I can imagine, but we're looking at about, in Celsius, 28 degree days and 18 degree nights. I'm hitting about 26 as a max temperature in here. I'm not quite able to get up to 28. Fahrenheit, you can think in terms of like an 85 degree day and a 60 degree night. It's kind of the ideal temperature range for these guys. Nice seed pod there. So this is the time of year for rexes to get as much light as you can give them. They love light. They love getting tons of it. And if they get plenty of light in the winter, then when they start growing again in February, they will have plenty of energy to put into new growths, and then those new growths will bloom in midsummer, in July or August. So right now, it's I'm not worried about watering too much. Now, if you're growing like a Cattleya rex type orchid or a Dawiana even, and it's getting to be winter time where you are, you want to really make sure that the roots, if you water the plant, that the roots dry out within a matter of hours. I mean, really that, you have to be that careful. These guys are pretty hardy. They won't rot unless you really keep them too wet for an extended period of time. I've heard Dawiana is much more finicky. But the pseudobulbs will tell me when to water. So I'm going to let them get a little bit more wrinkly than they are now. Right now they're still pretty plump. Still pretty plump here. Now these are getting a little wrinkly. this is what I'd say I want to aim for. I want to get them just a little bit more wrinkly like this and just kind of leave them there. You can see these guys are starting to wrinkle a little bit. You don't want them to get really shriveled up, but a little bit of pseudobulb wrinkling kind of shows you that the plant is in a dry spell and it's not going to try to grow until water picks up in the spring or in the late winter. Alright guys, well again I apologize for the video quality. We will see if Santa brings me another camera for Christmas. I really hate the fact that my trusty video camera is gone, but that's life. Also, I have decided that due to the incredibly huge numbers of coronavirus cases that are exploding all over the country, that I do not want to travel for the Thanksgiving holiday, and maybe not for the Christmas holiday either. So I am going to be staying right here in my apartment, on shutdown, working from home, and I hate it. I hate missing the holiday, and I hate not seeing my family members, but the cases are worse than they are like twice as bad as they've ever been, and I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. I'd rather, see my family members later than see them in the intensive care unit or at their funeral. So that's my decision on that, and it's kind of a lose-lose, but I'd rather play it safe. Okay, well, I hope you guys are all staying safe as well and taking care of yourselves and your loved ones and making good decisions about keeping yourself healthy and keeping the people around you healthy as well. I'm William Green. Thanks for tuning in to My Green Pets, and we'll see you next week. See ya. Bye. Alright guys, well I noticed that my Cycnodes Wine Delight was starting to fade today, so I had to get in the grow tent and try to get it out, and it looks like I was able to get it out successfully. It is ginormous. I didn't even realize how big it was until I got it out of there. It is huge. Yeah, that's better. Sorry, my kitchen's not exactly the best showing place for this plant, but I had to get it out to show you guys. So nice. Just one of the nicest bloomings of any plant I've ever had. So excited about it. This is the way they're really meant to be enjoyed. Hanging up in the trees with the flowers hanging down below. Oh man, the light. I just had to show it off.